everybody. Good day. We hope you're having a wonderful day thus far, and we're here to make it a little bit better. We're here talking today about not fitting in. And you know, we found this show to be appropriate because you see they all dressed in black and nobody told me. I came to set with them. I sat in all the meetings, and we had planned to do this show about not fitting in, and then they just made sure I didn't fit. So we're going to talk about
I promise you.
but we really are talking about not fitting in. Because at some point in your life, I think everybody has felt like they don't fit in. I know there's one quote, and I can't remember who said it, but they said, hey, it's weird not to be weird. Everybody feels like they don't fit in sometime. Have you guys ever felt like that, and why?
Wait, let's start with you. When did you feel? Because that's what she does. She always sends it over to the other side. Yeah. Tell us about a time that you didn't feel like you fit in.
I just did that because I thought I was directing the conversation.
But clearly you're not.
And I also didn't think of an answer. But have I ever felt like I don't fit in? Of course. I mean, sometimes even in your own family, you don't feel that way. Yeah. You know, you can feel like, hey, you know, my family, they're pretty legendary. My dad does his thing, and my mom does hers, and my brother wrote a Bible before he was 35. Who does that? And so you're just like, hey, I don't know what my great thing is. I was at a conference in Michigan, and I was selling my brother's Bibles and some stuff I do. But the guy walked up to me and said that. He was like, so your dad does this, and your mom does that, and your brother wrote this. What do you do? And I was like, yeah, exactly. That's what I told him. Exactly.
I wish I'd have been there.
I did too.
Let me tell you what she does.
It's easy.
We're the friends you can't tell that stuff to.
It's easy to feel like, though, that, hey, I don't know where I fit. I think I felt that way. I think everybody's felt that way. You know, sometimes you walk into a room, you're just like, ooh, do I belong here? Or you sit on a panel and you realize you're the only one in brown. I mean, it just, things like that happen. And so, but have you guys, I know it's more of a struggle for me growing up. At times you feel like, everybody looks this way, or especially as ladies, I think sometimes we compare ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah, of course.
And you think, oh, this person, they look so nice, or everybody has this. Growing up, there was these block shirts. Everybody had at camp one year.
Yeah.
And they all had these shirts from the Limited.
I had one.
I'm like, growing up is a lot younger because it was like 5 or 6 years younger than her. And I'm looking like, oh my gosh, I just want a block shirt too. You know, but it's so stupid. I don't even know how to explain it. But have you guys ever felt like, now that I've given a few personal examples, have you guys ever felt like you don't fit in?
Yes.
Why? Where? How?
So, you know, I have three sisters, and I think they're probably some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And they're all light, and I'm darker than all of them. And so that has always been a whole thing for me in just with them. Not with anybody else, just with them. Because it was like, I don't look like them. I'm a little bit big. I'm bigger than they are. I don't look like them. So it was always like a whole thing in my growing up. It was just a whole thing for me. But I only compared myself to them. I didn't care what any other woman in the whole entire world was doing. I always compared myself to my sisters. Wow. And now I'm seriously cuter than all of them.
I support Wayne Rogers.
And so now I am. But that was always a big deal for me. And, you know, when you're younger and I had like big white spots all over my face because I had eczema, and I just had all kinds of issues when I was growing up. None of them had them. And so I was just like, why am I so different? This is so ridiculous. And my mom was so sweet. She would always be like, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, I don't believe you, because I'm looking at them and who's my daddy? Because I don't think he's my daddy. Oh, but, wow. You know, you grow into it and you grow up and you feel a little differently about things. But I know growing up, that was always just a big deal to me, I was always bigger and darker than them. And I never wanted to be in pictures with them, never wanted to do any be compared, because we were always compared to each other. And so I remember my dad introducing me one day to somebody, and he said, yeah, this is my dark child. I know. Yikes. Who does that?
I'm only laughing because you laughing.
It's funny now, but I'm just like, who does that? And it gave me a severe complex when I was growing up. So,
Gosh.
I know I'm always changing the likeness of the show.
Like, that's heavy.
Tissue, please.
Sorry. No, because it's one thing like when you have this conception of yourself or when you feel like you don't fit. It's another thing when somebody confirms it for you.
Exactly. And then, your siblings have a way of getting under your skin and you're adopted and you're,
Yeah.
good Lord. So, yeah, I had scars on my childhood, but there's that.
For me, it was more so like coming up because I never really put any effort into like trying to be real smart. I was not the honor roll student. I was considered the dumb one, you know, or I used to get told I wasn't gonna be anything. So I had all these cousins and siblings that were excelling and I did just what I had to do. C. I was a C student. I was average as they come. You know what I mean? Like I didn't put any effort into the academic side of it. And I even just like when you go to, when I first came to church, not our church, but a church prior to, because I was coming from another, situation, and I didn't fit in. And they made me know that I didn't fit in, But I think it depends on what the situation is, because, there's times, like you said, you walk in a room, you just don't fit in, and we could be all dressed up, but you just have a different morale and everything. Even to this day, there are times I know I don't fit in, because I don't do what you do. I can go around certain family members, I don't get high. Off my own supply. That's not just but I don't get high, so I don't fit in. It's like, oh, here come Jessica, stuff like that. But now, I have my own life. So whether I fit in here, I'm only gonna be here for a few moments. I go to my place of abode and fit in.
I think the God factor in you automatically makes you not fit in.
Absolutely.
Unless you're in that type of church environment. Because I've seen it when it comes to family. I see it just going to different events and you're like, you're automatically going to stand out, and not just because something's wrong with you, but the God factor is not as common.
Not anymore.
As people make it seem.
Not anymore.
I think people use the phrase Christian kind of loosely now. But
What does everybody say?
I think during this time frame, that the identity of a Christian is being challenged, or if it's not being challenged, it's on display. What do you really believe?
Yeah.
And I think that's school. I remember growing up in the church that I grew up in. You didn't wear pants, right? Yeah. Automatically standing out. You're the only one on the bus stop wearing leg warmers and a skirt. Yep. It's not a fashion statement, but it automatically.
I'm wearing that right now, just for the record. I just still think it's a fashion statement. Stand strong, sisters.
It wasn't my choice of a fashion statement. When it's, I just can't. Anyway, as a teenager, as a kid, you're the oddball automatically, and I think
Did you have to wear that?
Yes. Oh, wow. And it wasn't coordinated with an outfit, Sequoia. My high B wants to come back.
Warmers in a skirt. Go ahead. I'm gonna let this continue.
In the 80s, for me, or the 90s, that was not the style that I was gonna wear.
Oh, wow.
But again.
Did you wear skirts then? And stockings?
I still wear skirts and stockings.
Not all the time, sis, but I'm just wondering. Oh, wow.
It's when it's cold outside.
No, but I'm just asking. Did you have to do that?
When I want to. Okay, you totally missing my point of what.
I'm just not gonna throw all our skirt wearing sisters under the bus.
There's nothing wrong with the skirt wearing sisters.
So my disclaimer for that is I'm saying the standard and the dress code that was introduced to me as a young person.
It's beautiful.
Was not common when I went to school.
I know. Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying
you guys definitely stood out. We knew who were the girls that went to church.
But you know what? To my point,
I love
they
it.
still know.
Yep.
I have people that I went to high school with or middle school with that will inbox me or send me a message and say, hey, will you pray for me? That's based off of what they met years ago and what they see now. So I may not have appreciated the standard then,
Yeah.
but it was still something that made me not fit in. You know, and something I had to deal with. Something else recently, I was talking to God about my own testimony, you know, and just different things I've been through, and Lord, how to get this book out and my own issues, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things I battled with was someone, and what I'm referring to is being married again, right? And it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been 3 years. But, you know, someone said something to me, oh, it hasn't even been that long.
Huh?
And because they said that to me, it put a...
What does that mean?
Like,
I
it's
wouldn't
not
even
long enough
ask.
to testify about. It's how I interpret it. It may not have been what they meant,
Got
but
it.
that's how I interpret it. But that did something to me. And I was talking to God about it here recently, and he said to me, do you think the dead man said I haven't been raised from the dead that
Come
long?
on now. Come on.
And when he said that to me, I was like,
yes.
God, I get it. But again, the God factor makes you feel like the oddball, you know? I don't want to talk about divorce in a way that glorifies divorce, but it's a part of my story and what he did with that, you know? He said, don't bury it. So I think there's so many things that can make us feel like the oddball. I think I changed the mood like
You
you
know
did
what,
that
let me
time.
just say-
And I don't want to do that.
No, but let me say this. Do you know? So you realize that you were a partaker of the resurrection in your life?
Keep going with that. Let me understand.
No, because divorce is death,
Yes.
and he resurrected it.
Oh, yeah. I call divorce
That's
the walking
beautiful.
dead. But yes.
I just now got that. Did you?
But when you
When you
But
said
you
it.
know, when you're in the middle of all that, you don't think of things like that. It's just the oddball. You know, I remember being uncomfortable
That's powerful.
because all my friends were married when I got divorced.
Girl.
And I had to figure out, okay,
Where do I fit?
what is this? Where do I fit? Do I even want to fit in? And you, again, you're the oddball, and you don't normally get a blueprint on how to be the oddball. You know? And
Yeah.
so I totally get not
a
fitting
whole
in.
bunch of, you know.
Yeah.
shit
No, I
away.
get that. Because all my friends were married when I didn't have a prospect.
Don't worry, because it's coming soon for me,
And
baby.
you do, and that's a different dynamic, but
It
it's
is.
still, you don't feel like you fit in. And so when we come back, we're just going to talk a little bit more about fitting in. And what does it even mean?
Yeah,
'cause what are you trying to accomplish by saying, do I fit in? I don't fit in. A lot of times you need to step back and think, what am I trying to get to? Because the place I'm looking for may not quite exist. Everybody
girl.
feels like they don't fit in sometimes. We'll be right back.
Did you know that when you are quiet, your voice is missing to God's ears? I know some of us have prayed and we're wondering, how long should I pray about this? Why should I pray if God already knows? How will I know God is answering? And what do I do when I feel like God's not listening? But God is listening for your voice. It's too quiet in this world for the troubles we have. You have to raise your voice, and God wants to hear from you. It's Too Quiet, a book about prayer. It's designed to answer your prayer questions and build your faith. Visit presstopray.com.
Because of you, I felt hopeless.
I know it was a joke, but it still hurt me.
Because of you, I felt wanted and not alone in this world.
Because you said hi to me on the first day of school, I felt included and I knew that I was going to be okay.
Disaster tips from the objects left behind.
My home wasn't insured, but you can check your insurance policy now to make sure you're covered. Oh,
My savings are lost, but you can put money aside and plan for unexpected disaster costs.
we're lost forever, but you can scan important documents now so they survive.
For more tips on how to prepare, visit ready.gov.
Hey, Welcome back, and we're talking about fitting in, and I like where the conversation's headed, because we're talking about a lot of different scenarios where we felt like the oddball, or we didn't feel like we fit with the group. But what I'm hearing as an undertone, especially when you sit here now in your 40s, looking back at life, is the necessity of that time, and how it actually became something great or beautiful or major story, or it actually had a purpose. One quote, and I like quotes, says, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. It's a true statement, though, because it's necessary sometimes to stand out. So what do you say to the person who is just, they're right now struggling because they don't feel like they fit where they are, they don't feel comfortable where they are, but we know on this end of it, this is a necessary process. And you don't become extraordinary by being ordinary. So what do you say to them? You know, the person who's kind of like, but I don't fit and I don't feel good about it.
One scripture that I used to always quote to myself, and still to do to this day, will not quote, rehearse, meditate on, and speak. It's Ephesians, I believe it's 1:7. It's either 1:6 or 1:7. But at the end of it, it says that I am accepted in the beloved. So I would always say, Jessica, you are accepted in the beloved. It is written. Because I think sometimes when you don't have especially for us Christians, because we are all Christian women, I feel like when you don't know who you are in God or have that relationship with God, because the Bible will tell you who you are. Because if I listen, because I was told I was nothing, but I'm also told in the Word of God that I can do all things through Christ. So it is important, especially as Christian women, to build yourself up in what our Father says about us. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. No, I may not be a size 2 and do this and blah, 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 but God thinks I'm beautiful. I'm the apple of his eye. And I talk like that to myself, especially when I feel, well, it don't happen too often. Right? You may feel like I'm ugly or something, but I'm being serious. Because I think that when
I'm glad it don't happen often.
But because when you look for validation from people who don't even know God, I don't need your validation. We're talking to Christian people. We base our belief system off of the Word. So what does the Word say about me? I'm not a dummy. I can't do all things. But I was told I was dumb. You know, but I think that's from time spent with God, meditating on the Word, meditating on Bible classes that are taught. Just sitting in the Word to heal you.
I think what Sequoia said, some seasons and experiences are necessary.
Everything that we go through is necessary.
So I think that part of it is you being comfortable with yourself.
Yes.
I don't walk into a room and think, do y'all like me? I think, do I like y'all? Right?
Come on, change the thermostat. My pastor said, we're going to set the thermostat.
So I feel like I am a chameleon when it comes to, wherever setting I'm in. I can be with girlfriend, I can be professional, I can be whatever.
Yeah.
So I decide, do I like y'all? I don't really let you decide whether you like me.
But that comes from experience, Jenny.
But part of it is I had to get comfortable with me.
Right.
And that meant I had to spend some time with me. Right? And getting to know you and what's amazing about you. Once you realize that, can't nobody tell you nothing.
Yep.
So, once you realize you start validating yourself, it's very hard for somebody to tear that down.
But how did you get there?
No, and that also
going through a divorce really helped me do that.
Experience.
Because I had to spend a lot of time with myself. By myself. Right. And I had to decide. I spent so many years being somebody's wife, somebody's mom. When I got by myself, it was like, okay, what does Jennifer like? What does she do? What's she good at? And once I started figuring out stuff that I liked, and I'm thinking, oh, I can do this or I can do that. I remember doing my first wedding, and I thought, I could do this. I'm really pretty good at that. But part of it was just getting outside of my own head and stop telling myself I couldn't do it.
Right.
And so when you focus on the negative is what you're going to get. You got to focus on something different. And so when you're dealing with yourself, I don't talk bad to myself.
That's
I don't
right.
talk down to myself. And that way, and I don't accept people talking that way to me either. So, but part of that really was going through such a traumatic experience and really having to dig myself out of it. And really having to come to grips with, okay, so who am I? What do I like about me? What do I don't like about me that I can change? Some things you can't change, it just is what it is. But really getting to know me and finding value in myself.
You know, that's why I like I love this scenario. I remember something that the Lord gave me, fact versus truth. Because it may be a fact, that may be a fact, but this is the truth right here. And then even what some things were passed down generationally, right? From your grandmother, your mother. You can go back and see, okay, my mother dealt with this, my grandmother dealt with this, but my daughter will not deal with this. And it stops right here, right? So I think even with the, and I love what you just said, because once I get to know me, so when you come along and try to give me a fact, no, this is not truth. And I reject it immediately. And then but that takes time. Like she just said, it takes experience. Maybe you don't need to go through something traumatic as a divorce, you know what I mean? Or your best friend betraying you, whatever you've been through. But you need to start, especially when you get in your mid to late 30s, it's some things you need to deal with you if you're still worried about who don't like me. I mean, because by then you should have kids, your own home, different things would have happened.
Maybe.
And your babies, maybe, hey, listen, you know,
Husband,
you know,
let's do these in order.
whatever you got.
Yeah.
There should be some things that now you got to start looking at you. Why am I why do I always feel like I don't fit in? And why do you care? Why, okay, now I'm using Jenny's word, and I really don't like the I don't care thing.
Works.
It doesn't. But my point is, you got to start looking at you as to why you're putting this much energy. Don't you have something else going on in your life?
Some people don't feel like they do. What if somebody is
I can't
single?
control how you feel. Well, single
With no
unhappy, because
kids.
everybody who's single ain't unhappy.
That's what I'm saying, honey, because baby,
Some people are very happy being single.
You know what?
They don't need your children or your husband.
They get to travel when they want to. Singleness is a gift.
Yeah, it's not a bad
We'll talk about that one another show.
So I want to bring up a scripture. Is Psalms 42:5. It's one of my favorites. It says, "Why art thou cast down, O my soul? Why art thou disquieted in me? Hope thou in God, for I shall yet praise him for the help of my countenance." I think part of, again, dealing with you is asking yourself, why am I this way?
Yeah.
You know, and I can't look at outside influences thinking they're making me this way.
Exactly.
You know, it's what's in me is what's in me, right? But I can't externally say blame you for not calling me or not inviting me or not.
Thing,
I got to deal with, why am I not happy? You know, why am I unhappy or not comfortable? You know, I'm a people person, so I'm so comfortable around people, period. But not everybody's comfortable around people. And sometimes you just need to embrace your awkwardness. When I know somebody's socially awkward, I try to find a way to make them even more, you know, highlight.
Oh my
Girl,
God.
look, what's wrong with you? Why can't you speak?
What's wrong with you?
But I think you really have to really get involved with understanding why you do what you do, why you think the way you think, and not blame other people for that,
down.
because you waste so much time thinking externally, I need something from you in order for me to feel something else. People don't have the permission to make me feel anything. I have to accept that. I have to, you know, get into that. So I just don't accept, you know, you don't get to make me feel anything. I don't get to feel devalued. I'm just not doing any of that. I have to allow those things. People don't just force that on you. And so you really have to understand you. And for women, that's really hard because you want to blame somebody. It's easier to blame somebody than it is to look at yourself.
Look at the man in the mirror.
But I think it is like, if you're not content hanging out with yourself, nobody else is going to be content hanging out with you.
Come on, Sequoia, preach.
That's true.
And even when you do hang out with them, you'll feel like they don't even know me.
Yep.
They don't know me. They don't see me.
They don't like me.
Yeah, they don't really like me because
just pity me.
because you really don't feel that way about yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you don't like being with you. You don't believe
And you
anybody else
project.
can either.
You project
and
that.
you can. And so it comes across as, I need something from you sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It comes across different ways. Sometimes it comes across standoffish. Other times it comes across across as overbearing. I
Yeah.
need this, I need that. And it's because you need to give yourself that. You really do have to be content with yourself before you expect somebody else to be content with you, because you're setting the standard. You got to set the standard you're going to judge yourself by.
That's right.
And what you're going to accept, and then you'll be able to give that gauge out as to who you want to be around. A lot of times, to me, the fitting in thing is more about a facade. It's more about the ideal of being a part. The ideal of, I think it looks like all these people have this, when you don't know those people, you don't talk to those people, and you don't understand the bond of those people, because you're just sitting here from the outside making up stuff. And so, and it's based on how you feel. It's, I mean, I'm telling the truth. So I think while I understand the need or desire to fit in, I think what settles in us is that we're okay.
Yeah.
You start learning, I'm okay with me. I don't have to be on the phone all day. I'm okay.
I don't want to be on the phone.
You know, I went to the movies by myself.
How old were you?
I was 37.
So your children were
37,
almost grown?
Yeah. And I went to the
Okay.
movies by myself. And
Okay.
I had never done that.
Me too.
I went out of town by myself
I
at
love it.
35.
I'll be so happy.
Never done that. Got in my car, drove to Chicago to see my sister. And I felt so liberated. Like I had never done anything
And
like
you
that
stopped to
before.
see me too?
I did.
I appreciate that.
And so when I started learning, like I went out to dinner by myself, and it was okay to have a table for one. I just thought. But you know, I just think spending that time with yourself and getting to know you and how amazing you are, nobody can give that to you.
Right.
They can't. If you don't believe it, nobody can give it to you. And if you don't love you, how is anybody else supposed to? Because you'll automatically be suspicious of their motives and their intent.
Every time.
Because you're like, you can possibly care about me. You can destroy relationships over
You
that.
sure can.
So,
Because everybody don't have hidden motives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I love my
insecurity.
friends.
But that insecurity, it has a way of just spilling over into everything, every
Yeah.
relationship, even looking for a romantic relationship. If you've ever been in a relationship with somebody who's insecure, you can never meet their need. And that could be a whole different episode.
Yep.
But you can never meet their need
That is a
because they're
different
not
need.
secure in themselves. And I think it just really does start with you.
I think you said it before that I think we were talking about a broken heart and what that looks like looking out through the lens. I think there's a lens of insecurity.
You
that
got
you can
that
look
right.
through that affects everything.
And don't get mad at me if I'm happy with myself. Because when I was down in the dirt, I told God, if you ever bring me, I'm serious.
I knew she
You
would.
bring me up out of this, I'm not going back to that sorrowful place.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean everything is perfect. But this was a really good show. But go ahead.
It just means that where you are is not where you have to be. Start fitting in with yourself. God bless you. We'll see you next week.